I'm so...
Hey guys, alright, welcome to GameLusters. This is a podcast, and it is technically sound in every way.
It's a funny joke, Nirav.
Not falling apart at the seams. But yeah, we're back this week. You thought we were done with the last one. When we went after PlayStation in our Xbox episode. Crushed those Sony ponies.
Is that what they call them? Is that what the kids call them nowadays?
Yeah, I think Sony phonies is another good one. I know
Xbox is the one. Is the opposite one.
Xbox is good. I like saying X-Boys more.
Yeah, I think that works better.
But anyway, so this is a podcast, and every week, we get together and we talk about the history and legacy of a game we love and just kind of how it came to be. And just kind of chill and talk about cool stuff. So I am Nirav, and I'm, as usual, going to be your host, and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Reverie.
Hey, howdy.
And today we have a very special guest. We finally did it, folks. That's right. We have Phil Spencer on the podcast.
Hello. Wow. It's me.
I probably should have picked somebody else from New Zealand so we could have run the ruse a little longer. Today we have Flight of the Conchords.
All of them.
That's all of the Conchords are here. Okay, so yeah, we have Jared on from Rainbite Studios, who's a developer, and he's got a cool new game coming out, which we'll talk about a good bit at the end of the show here. Say hi.
Hello. It's actually me now.
Yeah. Welcome in. So we're easy breezy now. We're throwing. I know this podcast has kind of been criticized for being too structured and too serious in the past.
We're very serious people.
We're very serious, and so we're kind of toning it down a little bit. We're just gonna start off by talking about what we're all playing right now. So, Jared, why don't you kick us off? What are you playing right now in your free time?
Oh, I've been playing Titanfall a bit. I played the Mass Effect trilogy. I'm starting it. That's kind of what I've been doing most of the
Ree has some things to talk about with you.
Oh yeah.
Which one are you on? Have you just started the first one?
I'm like 10 hours into the first one. Yeah. It's the first time I've properly played it through.
Oh wow! What's your impressions of it then so far?
It's kind of janky still, even though they've made it better. The cover system is horrendous. But
It really is.
a lot of the menus, I'm just saying all the bad things, I guess. But a lot of the menus don't feel right. Like you're in the world map, but you can't access your quest log at the same time, so you don't know where you're going. And then equipping stuff is terrible. When you go to a shop, it gives you dialogue options to get non-human armor or other things. I'm like, what's going on? This is so weird. But overall, it's pretty good. I mean, the dialogue and the story choices and the Mako is actually fine.
Yeah, it's not terrible this time. I actually have had the Mako stop a run twice already though. Don't drive into walls. It doesn't really know what to do, and it will just sort of get stuck there.
I feel like someone calling the Mako actually fine is the highest praise I've ever heard for it.
Yeah.
It is. I completely agree with everything you said.
Nice.
They have done a fairly decent job at modernizing it, but that's only because the original was just that bad.
It definitely looks better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, I actually have a question since you guys have been looking at it in motion. I've heard a lot of people complaining that the lighting doesn't look as good, or it's calling into relief the non well textured details of stuff. Is that your experience, or you think the lighting looks good?
I would say the lighting overall is better, but I think some of it's to do with materials and textures. The eyes look better, skin looks better, and some scenes are better lit. And then I saw some comparison shots where some scenes have a completely different vibe because of the lighting, but I think overall it's better.
Yeah, is there a lot of lens flares in the pictures? Or
There's
no?
a lot. There are
Yeah.
a lot.
So this is J.J. Abrams presents Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Ree, what are you playing right now? Obviously Mass Effect.
Yeah, I'm actually at the very end of the first Mass Effect now. I've got a little bit more praise, but that's also solely just because I've played the original before. I played it twice, So going into this, it's like, this is the best game I've ever played in my life. But it's like, no, it's just because they made it slightly more tolerable. The menus still suck, but because I'd already played it twice, I sort of knew where everything was. So it
they're
wasn't
preserving
too
the
bad.
creator's intent.
With like the aesthetic of it, yeah, they've like the way they've done the lighting now, because in the original they basically just like use like one color for a world. So like in the first one, I think there's a lot of red everywhere, and they've sort of got rid of that, and now every world like has multiple colors. I don't think it's too bad. I think for the most part it works really, really well. Maybe I'll change my mind as the series goes on, but yeah, I've almost completed it, which is probably the fastest I've ever completed a game before, because I got it last Sunday, and I could, if I started playing tonight, could probably finish it.
The biggest thing is that it runs at 60 FPS for me, because it just looks so much smoother than some like blurry 30 FPS game.
See, I'm having to play on PS4, which means you have to choose between the improved graphics or the improved frame rate, which sucks.
Gotta get PS5.
Oh god, I really wish I held off, and like, so I'm gonna get an Xbox, so I can't even do the smart delivery thing on PlayStation. But I usually play in frame rate mode because it looks so much better.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much like an improved frame rate can just improve.
Oh yeah, and
the
you know,
overall experience of the game.
I'm a big PC gamer, and so I get really angry anytime someone says 30 frames per second. I like sort of start to like overheat a little bit. And I just sort of start fidgeting my hands. It's not, don't do it. Stop doing that. Stop making it like that.
Other than that, Pokemon Snap still. That's my life now, is just Mass Effect and Pokemon Snap. The only two things I need to sustain myself.
That sounds nice. Sounds like good sustenance. I have been continuing on with Nier Replicant. I am on playthrough B right now, 35 hours in. This is a big game. I'm so in love with it though. I think it's an amazing game, and like it is a very, very slow burn game. It is the slowest burning game I think I have ever played in my life. But
is it longer than Automata?
It's much longer than Automata. Yeah. Like a considerable amount. But also the thing is that like the way that they have the endings laid out in Replicant is like not very not very respectful of your time, I will say. The way that Automata works with like replaying stuff is like the fixed version of this, you know.
I still think that Automata didn't really respect your time with the B playthrough, but that's just me.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is like if you feel that way about Automata, like this one is really going to be just kicking you in the nuts. Which like I love this though. Like I can see like slowly just little things here and there, and like the ending A, and like now I'm going back through on B. Like I can see the masterpiece of this unfolding, and like yes, like I this is not something I'm gonna like yell at people to play though, because I know everyone doesn't have like 30 hours to wait for a game to get good. But I'm absolutely in love with it. And like anyone who enjoyed Automata, I think you should take a crack at it at least. But it's it's so gorgeous, and like the music is so good, and like the story, like I got to the visual novel part of it yesterday, and I was like, I was like thinking like, I wonder like if they just like, I know this is like a very underfunded project, the original one, like maybe I think they just like ran out of money here. It's like no, we're really bending genres and like crossing over to new territory. It's like, oh,
I didn't realize it did that. That's interesting.
Is it because you ran out of money? But yeah, it does. It turns into sort of, you literally are just reading white text on a black screen for about 2 hours of it, and then it goes back into like a giant big boss fight.
Sounds like Kentucky Route Zero.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It's fucking incredible. I love it so much though. But yeah, I'm grinding out right now to get all the weapons, because you have to get all 33 weapons to get the true ending. Nobody knows why. So yeah, I'm just grinding out money right now, buying some swords, killing some robots. Yeah, I'm 100% recommend. And I also, just as a side note, I tried Knockout City yesterday night because it came out on Game Pass. Pretty fun. It
looks fun.
It's like bad Splatoon.
Sometimes that's all you want, I think.
It's like mediocre Splatoon. It's better than Ninjala, and it is worse than Splatoon.
I gave it a go, but my first match was unplayable. The internet connection was like so bad. I was just like bouncing around all over the place. I did all the tutorials, the like 7 tutorials you have to do, which takes like ages. And then
I skipped the tutorials.
It's very complex. There's a lot of depth to it, which is, you know.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
like
get, I didn't
I
get a
just
proper match.
yeah, I just like jumped into the matches and like learned by like just hitting buttons, which went okay. Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't see this being fun for more than 3 or 4 hours, to be honest. Like, but maybe if they add like a ton of content after launch, it might be cool. Anyway, it's all right. I if you have Game Pass, I think it's worth the time to download it and give it a try. Unless you're in New Zealand, and I guess the servers don't work there.
I might have just been a weird time. I'm sure like if I played it now, it might be alright, but who knows.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our main segment. So, welcome everyone to Bustums. Today we are talking about A Link Between Worlds, which is a very good Zelda game. So, Ree, first of all, I don't know. Have you played this game?
Yes, I'm just like, I feel like I have. I've played like most.
You
Zelda
feel
games
like you
at
have?
least, like, yeah, Link Between
It was the
Worlds.
3DS one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I played this.
Yeah. That's great. So, like, the reason that we chose this game is, I was thinking maybe to keep more to our traditional format here. Jared's got a new game coming out soon, which we'll talk about, like I said, and A Link Between Worlds and the other 2D Zeldas are big influences for it. So I thought it might be fun to dive into that and then kind of lead that into talking about his game. So we're gonna give it a go. This is sort of a test run, but like if this podcast is in like a year like a very famous thing, this is kind of what I would want the format of the show to be. Would be like have like a developer on and kind of do this. Because right up till now, we've just been using a rotating panel of my friends. So anyway, but no, friends are good too. And thank you to all my like literally like 30 different friends I've pulled from different places to be on the show at different times.
Ree,
where are your friends? You haven't ever brought any of them on here.
None of them are interested in podcasting. I almost got my boyfriend on to talk about Baldur's Gate, but he was like, nah, doesn't sound like my thing. So you just have like very charismatic friends, I think, and mine are all shy.
Oh, you love those shy boys.
Yeah, apparently I do.
Okay, so let's dive into it. So, Zelda: A Link Between Worlds is a sequel to A Link to the Past, and it is the 17th main series game in the Legend of Zelda franchise. Did not realize that.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of them. So it released this is so weird too. It also released first in the West, and then a month later it came out in Japan.
That's a weird one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But just to kind of let people know, like beforehand, like this game in Japan is called Triforce of the Gods 2. Because A Link to the Past was called Triforce of the Gods over in Japan. Which is like, I like our names better because they're puns.
Yeah. Probably doesn't work, I guess, as well. Oh, actually, if the subtitle's in English anyways, I guess it doesn't matter. Or is it?
Yeah. I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. I think it's probably in Japanese, but I think now they're the same names. I think the last few Zeldas have had the same names in Japan and, the West, but they've done a lot of those where, like, I think Heroes was Triforce Heroes had a different name too. Anyway, so yeah, why don't you tell me just briefly, Jared, like what is this game about? Like what's in it? Just like elevator pitch for this game.
Told me not to prepare.
Well, yeah, I mean just say some things about it. Like you don't have to like talk in detail. Just like
I'm assuming the story. I can't remember the story exactly, but I'm assuming the story is that you have to beat Ganondorf. It might not be, but that's kind of my assumption. Some version of him.
It's basically that.
Yeah, but the things I remember most about it, I feel like, are the interesting mechanics and like you can like go 2D into the wall as like being able to like navigate around some of those parts. And I think it was the only game that did this in the Zelda series where you have like that magic bar and then you buy those items from like the bunny dude or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like you don't have ammo, which I kind of liked because it means you could bomb to experiment without having to waste them and that kind of stuff, which was kind of cool.
I think so. So just for everyone, anyone else like who hasn't seen this game, it's one of the top-down 2D Zeldas, but it's kind of like a slanted view, so you can see.
And it's like it's actually 3D art, but it's like that 2D style game. Yeah.
yeah, it's really neat. So yeah, we'll jump into the development here. So three developers from the team who had worked on Spirit Tracks were assigned to start workshopping the new Zelda game, the new handheld Zelda, while the main Zelda team with Aonuma was working on Skyward Sword. So they worked for about 6 months. They created a prototype, and they built this game they said was themed around communication. And it was a kind of a more traditional 2D Zelda game. And just in your experience, what is the worst thing that can happen to your game right when you finish your prototype when you work at Nintendo?
Oh, when you work at Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's hard to guess because like they don't work like any other gaming company. I was about to say
we've seen this happen like just think for a second. We've seen this happen like 9 or 10 times on this show so far. You work for Nintendo. You're working on your prototype. You finished it. You think you have a great product here.
Oh, Shigeru Miyamoto comes in and
Shigeru
says, "No."
Miyamoto shows up,
and he says, "It's not fun."
It's not good. He called he came in, he tried out their prototype and said it was outdated and uninspired.
Oh, sad.
Ooh, that's
told them to try again.
Oh god.
And so this team kind of got restarted on it, and basically like God, I can't even imagine like the like you're like working, at your computer and you're like typing away, and there's like all this like lingering fear in the back of your mind, like whenever you hear footsteps by the door, like God, what if it's him?
It's him.
He's come to destroy it.
Our game sucks.
So yeah, at this point, Shikata, who is one of the producers here, who I'm speaking about, he was like, okay, like we're gonna have Link, merge into walls and like out of walls, kind of do a mix of 2D and 3D, and he got so interested in this idea. They got so into it that this team of 3 guys in one day created a working prototype of Link like merging into and out of walls into 3D and 2D. Which is, I don't know a lot about coding. Maybe Jared, you can give me an idea on that. How sure. Is that crazy?
I mean, prototyping stuff, like you can get stuff done at a basic level kind of quickly, depending on what it is. But it's about obviously making it work in all cases, and like so it never breaks throughout the whole experience. But I'm sure you could. Yeah, I mean, you could get something functional within a day.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just kind of shocked because I was like, why is it taking Todd so long to make Starfield then?
What's he doing?
What's he doing? By the way, did y'all see that like video people are passing around now of like when they did that interview like a few months ago with over Zoom with like Todd Howard and Phil Spencer, and like the interviewer asked Todd Howard like, so what can you say about Starfield? And he's like, I think people are a little too hyped for it for a game they don't know anything about.
You guys want my game too much. I want some of you to not want to play it. God,
there was the other thing that was like, somebody was like, oh, like Fallout 76 was bad, so like they're working really hard on this. And they're like, I love the idea that Todd Howard like saw the reviews of Fallout 76 is like, guys, we have no choice but to make Starfield good.
Now we gotta make good games.
We gotta make it good instead.
Oh
God. Anyway, I also have to qualify that like I'm probably more hyped for Starfield than any other game. So even though I know nothing about it, very good.
You're one
I'm one of them. So, like I said, they created this prototype, and they kind of were considering this to be a sequel to Spirit Tracks at the beginning, actually. They hadn't had the idea to connect this to A Link to the Past when they started on it. But around October 2010, they met with Miyamoto again to present their second prototype, and this time he said it was fine.
Oh, no.
So they cheered. It's like, are you proud of me, Dad? He's like, fine.
Good enough.
So within 2 weeks of entering production, so I don't know if like Miyamoto has this thing where he's like purposefully sabotage. I wonder if he's playing 5D chess is my question. Like, does he purposefully sabotage these ideas with the knowledge that in the end, things will end up a lot better all around, but, this sounds like a bad idea right now. Because what happened next was that after just a few days after they finished their prototype and he approved of it, he came back and he said, like, sorry guys, I'm breaking up the band. You guys are all going to work on the Wii U console, which I think is going to be a huge success.
This is a time for notoriously good ideas from Nintendo.
Right. So they had this concept idea, and basically the Link being 2D and 3D thing, flipping in and out of walls, and then they kind of just threw it in the garbage, right?
I feel like it's quite a common Nintendo thing to, at least from what I've heard from a lot of their game series, is that they only want to make sequels if there's going to be something different about it. If you are just going to make something derivative of the same thing, they're not as keen to like do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean I think that's true of all of their series. I haven't really seen anything be too similar to its predecessor. Yeah, I was about to say Splatoon is probably the only thing, like, because I mean that honestly though, Splatoon's such a simple concept and it worked so well out of the box. It's just like, what can we do but just add more junk to it?
I was about to say that they would be really daft to not do that, but like, I think good business strategies and Nintendo haven't always been friends, so sure. I'm surprised that they're sort of, continuing that. I guess the only one that was like really similar was, I guess, but this is only assets wise, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But even then, like the games were completely different to play. Yeah. So.
And that was like a time crunch thing because they were given literally 1 year to make another mainline Zelda game.
It's crazy, yeah.
Exactly. And even then, it's just the tone of it. It's just, you wouldn't go to those games for the same thing. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. They do not want to just reinvent the wheel, I guess.
Yeah, so in November 2011, they released Skyward Sword, of course, and the Zelda fandom was split forever in twain. About whether that is a good game or not. It's a good game. Shh. So Aonuma, who is the sort of the like big director of the Zelda franchise, since Miyamoto stopped working hands-on Zelda, which I think Ocarina of Time was the last one he actually directed himself, if I remember correctly. Aonuma, who was serving as one of the producers at the time, and he had worked on Ocarina, stepped up, and has been leading the Zelda franchise ever since. So he was kind of thinking about like, okay, what's our next handheld going to be right after they released Skyward Sword. And so digging around in the old Nintendo vaults, he found their prototype for Link jumping in and out of walls and was like, maybe this is something?
It was.
Yeah. And so two of the guys involved are Shikata and Mori, who were the ones who created the prototype for it, were still heavily involved in developing the Wii U hardware, or the operating system rather, which I guess they did. It certainly has an operating system, I'll say.
Well, glowing review.
Glowing review. Aonuma decided to revive that project without its core members over a year after it had been just thrown in the vault. So they restarted the game, and it is worth noting, after the Wii U launched, Mori and Shikata both joined the team again to lead development on A Link Between Worlds. So they did get back into it. So yeah, this. Interesting here, we were just talking about frames. Mori actually demanded that this game had to run at 60 frames per second. The 30 was not good enough because he was also a PC gamer.
That's hard on the 3DS.
Yeah, it is. Do you know something weird I found out? I found out that the only mainline Pokemon games, in history that have run at 60 FPS are Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald on the Game Boy Advance.
Wow.
Oh my god.
The new ones definitely don't run at 60. You get in those combat situations, You're like, damn, these run at like
it's like
10.
4.
Yeah.
Sword and Shield like legit drops to single digits sometimes. Good work over there.
It has to sacrifice something for those phenomenal graphics, I guess.
How else are we gonna fit
those
all
animations?
How else are we gonna fit all these dang Pokemon in here? Oh, we didn't. We didn't fit them in, did we? Oh. So yeah, they doubled the frame rate. So the reason they had to have a 60 FPS is because they wanted you to actively use the touchscreen for inventory management to drag on and off of the screen. And they said that wasn't possible with the game running at 30 FPS because your hand would move too quickly. And so they were like, okay, we got to build this for 60 FPS to make it fluid. And I will say, of all the games that use like inventory on the touchscreen, like the 3DS Zelda games, like the Ocarina and Majora's Mask remake included, like those are the only ones that work well, I think. I don't know if y'all have had a lot of other good experiences with like touchscreen heavy games on the 3DS.
Not really, no.
No,
it's not comfortable to use it with the like.
Yeah, it's like, how am I supposed to hold this like big fat Game Boy with one hand and then like push on it with the other hand?
Yeah, if you had the XL, it was just way too heavy as well.
Yeah, I had the XL. I was gonna say I did play Spirit Tracks, and that has like the movement with the stylus, I'm pretty sure, and all that. Like
yes.
You have to use that, and I didn't actually hate that. It actually worked pretty well because it was like built around having to use it the whole time.
Yeah. I've heard people. There are some stalwart defenders of that game, and to them I say, shoo. I gave Spirit Tracks like an hour before dropping it though. That's probably on me. I like could not get used to the controls. So the reason they did this is because they wanted, like I said, the stylus to work. So they also wanted to give like more freedom to people, and they actually like a little bit into it were like, oh, like what if this is an open world game? Like, what if this is like a Link to the Past, but like it's open and you can do it however you want? And so going from that concept, and I mean it's interesting actually, because this I think this is actually the second one, because the very first, if I remember correctly, the very first Legend of Zelda game from the 80s was also open world, correct?
Yeah. You could do it. You could do some of the dungeons out of order, but not all of them, because I think there was some requirements. But
okay, yeah. And then this game is perhaps like like not like Breath of the Wild like you might think, is perhaps the first open world Zelda game actually. You can pretty much they said that they were designing it around, like doing anything you want in any order, and they then realized that they couldn't do the traditional thing of you go into a dungeon, in that dungeon at the end you get an item that lets you get to the next dungeon. That's the traditional Zelda thing.
That's where the bunny comes in.
That's where the bunny comes in. I want to talk about Ravio a little bit. I love this fool. This is the main thing that whenever I talk to anybody about this game, the main thing, of course, other than like going into and out of walls, like the main thing people remember is the item rental system. Yeah. And Ravio, who is just this dope ass bunny who's like, hey friend, like I got a selection of wares for you, and like pulls open his trench coat and there's like a hammer inside.
Resident Evil 4, what's he doing?
Yeah.
And so yeah, they opted for this system where you could rent items, because they were like, okay, if you want to go to this dungeon that requires this item, just rent it and go there. It is worth noting that the original draft of this game, actually, like when they were developing it, had a rental timer, and if you went over on your timer, you started to owe like insurance to the bunny.
Because that's what the gamers want.
It's too real.
So
too real.
Yeah, it's like I don't need that in my real life. So yeah, Ravio is cool. I enjoyed him. He's just kind of like a shitty guy who just had a lot of good stuff in his house. He was like a shitty drug dealer, And it's like, hey, I need to.
That's what Nintendo were going for.
I need to rent
drug dealer vibes.
I need to rent this weed from you. I'll give it back. Yeah. So they kind of continued on with this line of thought, and we're like, okay, so we want to make Link into like a mural, rather than just keep his art style. We want to make a different art style for the like wall stuff, and then that led them to creating a whole second like art style within the game for like the murals and everything, and for the villain Yuga, who is not Ganon, but like, isn't it though?
It always is, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like in Skyward Sword, they're like, it's not Ganon, and then you're like, it is though. It looks at the end, it looks like it is though.
It really is.
It's not Ganon this time. Yeah. So in the what was I saying here? Yeah, so actually, Anuma said that the idea of Link turning into the mural in the first place was actually inspired by Phantom Ganon jumping into and out of the paintings during when the big boss fight with him in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Which is a cool boss fight. And I have to hand in my gamer card here because I have not played it myself. That boss fight specifically, I am still in the Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time. And I've been there for many years.
Never
I
escaped.
think Ocarina of Time might be like the most pretend completed game ever. I think a lot of people say they've completed it. But
Yeah,
like, really, they're on the water temple of all of us, you know? They never got past it either.
I somehow made it through the water temple. The problem is I played Ocarina on my Wii U on the virtual console, so I was playing the N64 version, and it has not held up.
It has not at all, has it?
I don't care what anyone says.
It's outdated, definitely.
Yeah, the 3DS one is much easier to play. So
I mean, I want to talk shit on other stuff too, because I feel like when that the Super Mario the 3D collection came out, people were like, Super Mario 64 holds up, and I'd never played it before, and I was like, no, it doesn't.
See, that I have to believe you, because like to me it feels perfect, but like I've also 100%ed that game I think 12 times, and
yeah, as someone going into like for the first time, I cannot play it. I want to because I love Sunshine so much, but I have never like been able to get on with 64. I don't know what it is.
I have a weird
because pretty much any game from that era doesn't hold up, no matter how good you think it is. None of those games hold up.
Yeah,
it's only good if you like played it as a kid and you're like used to it. You got the muscle memory from it, and you can sort of look past the jank with nostalgia.
Have you tried to play like GoldenEye from the N64 like in the last 10 years?
I don't want to.
Oh my god, it's incredible.
There really are some games that are like better off as memeries, I think.
Yeah.
You can just sort of pretend that they're still good.
Yes, 100%. I think the what was I saying though? I had Mario 64. I weirdly I played that a lot as a kid, but I never like beat it or got very far into it. I weirdly played that game like a lot in college because whenever I went to a big school, so like most of my classes my first year were like 300 person classes in a giant auditorium, and I was just sitting there with my laptop in the back of the class, and I was like, this sucks. So I just started playing Mario 64 on an emulator, like on the keyboard, and I just like played through that game over and over throughout my entire college career, just like sitting in class playing Mario 64 on my laptop.
Amazing.
And I like 100%ed it several times. I beat it like maybe 9 or 10 times that way, and like it was weird picking up the Switch version, and like my muscle memory is of you playing on a keyboard and not like with the controller. And so I was like,
too much for a pro gamer.
Yeah.
That's how I started playing Pokemon games, was on emulators. And so like,
oh really?
I never had a Game Boy, so that's how I played like some of the original ones. Yeah.
Oh wow. I played Pokemon on emulators before, but like I feel like I always just kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to stay on it for me. Like I just like, I'm like, do I really want to sit down at the computer for this?
No,
for Bulbasaur?
It's a weird. Yeah, it's a weird place to play it.
Yeah. So so Link Between Worlds has like original music, but it also has like remixed and rearranged tracks from Link to the Past. This is composed by Ryu Nagamatsu, and he actually also played the flute music for the milk bar in the game, which is fun.
That's sweet.
Have we've talked about milk bars on here, right? Like how they're actually a real thing. Like when I was
I couldn't believe it. Like, how's there enough milks to justify having a bar?
I love how when you when you walk into one of your traditional British pubs, I don't think the thought ever crosses your mind like, how's there enough beer for this operation?
Yeah, but like, you know, you got cow milk, you got goat's milk, you got the weird, you got the vegan milks, you know? Like, is that already enough for a bar? Where is the beer?
I mean, like
you've got
a
million kinds.
If you actually, this is a fun side note. I don't know if you know this. In Germany, like legally, if something wants to be called beer, it can only contain 4 ingredients, and it cannot contain any more or any less. Like, so every beer that comes out of Germany is just. I don't want to say the wrong things. I know it's water is one of them.
Which is weird because like they're right near
German
Belgium,
beer
which
ingredients
has really good beer. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
500. What is this thing? Hold on. Okay. The law is from 1516 and it still holds. Only water, barley, and hops were allowed, but yeast was added later. So water, barley, hops, and yeast are the only ingredients allowed in German beer.
So that's just you're just drinking spicy water at that point.
They're not the same though. German breweries have figured out how to use different techniques and like different amounts and proportions of each thing to make completely different tasting beers. Like, it's incredible.
I don't think I've had like a good German beer ever in my life, though. It has to be said. I don't know. Maybe that one taste just isn't for me.
Any German listeners, I'm sorry. Ree, I don't know if you know how seriously they take beer over in Germany.
I'm British, and I think we take it a bit more seriously here, if I'm honest.
Oh.
Really?
Oh.
I would argue that we do.
I think you guys take the drinking of it more seriously.
No, that's about the point.
Consumption, yeah.
The consumption end of it.
That's the important bit.
Yeah. So anyway, the milk. You know what? Now I'm thinking about the milk bar though. Like, I don't know that the cows like internally are sort of changing the proportions of the ingredients that are going into the milk.
Depends on the eat, I assume.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that is it. Hey, maybe that's it. Like, this is grass-fed milk. Like, here's where we fed a cow a bunch of fudge sickles and we saw what happened. Like, you know. Don't do that, please. Don't feed a cow fudge sickle. So this is a very fun, very Nintendo thing, which is why I want to mention this next thing. There was a demo for A Link Between Worlds in 2013, but it was only playable if you brought your 3DS to the Seattle showing of The Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddess's Second Quest concert tour.
Wow.
Oh, I love Nintendo. I love them.
And then
so that they can't do anything normally, can they?
No,
they have to
no,
put a
absolutely
little twist
not.
on it.
And you also could play Wind Waker HD's demo there as well. That was the only place to play that one too. So very
What a waste of a demo.
That's a good point. They made the demo for like a collective like 100 people, and like that's it.
I didn't go to the Zelda Symphony tour. I remember when they were doing the Pokemon Symphony Orchestra tour. I did go to that one with my friend, which was a fucking balling concert. It was really good. Recommended. So
It's a bit far for me.
Let's see here. So with the game's launch, they also they released this to universal acclaim. 91 on Metacritic, so fans liked it. Fans liked it already, but like critics like loved this. It's very highly acclaimed, and most people call it the best 2D Zelda. I would say more people than not. Like, this seems to be one of the few Zeldas people don't fight about. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's good, yeah. And also sold 4.16 million copies worldwide, which is extremely good for a Zelda game. Once again, I must remind everybody that even though like everyone seems to love Zelda, like nobody buys the damn things. These games have historically not sold very well ever. And
people like the vibe.
Zelda gives off the air of having sold a lot of copies, though.
Yeah.
It
Well, I
really
think
does.
the 3DS version obviously is like a lot of 3DS consoles probably helps.
Yes, yeah, having a big install base for that one.
Same with Breath of the Wild, right, on Switch. Like everyone has
yes.
it on Switch, right?
So Breath of the Wild is the best-selling Zelda game, and it is actually the best-selling game in the series by a factor of 3. It's sold about 22 million copies now, and the next highest one was about 7 million copies. Damn. So,
oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's because at that point they actually took a lot from other games, rather than, but like in its own way still. But you know what I mean. It was very much like it felt more like a video game than the other ones did.
I think it's weird because like historically, I think people are like, oh, Nintendo has like these big 3 properties like Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, and they like make all their money off of those. And it's like Zelda was never really part of that like trifecta. Like Animal Crossing has actually always historically sold a lot more than Zelda.
There we go. Isabelle should be the mascot for Gatling.
Isabelle is the third piece of the Triforce. Yeah, so also won a few Game of the Year awards, and this is 2013, so we were still in the days of the Spike TV presents the VGX Awards with Joel McHale. And it won Best Handheld Game there. But yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about like the actual game quickly. Just are there any memories you guys have about it that like or anything that really stood out to you?
feel like I kind of already said at the beginning, kind of the first things I said, but I mean, you'd already described it as well. But like the rental system being so different, and the like having that bar for your abilities. I mean, like maybe some of the dungeons, I guess they don't stick out as much because I don't remember them. But I remember doing specifically like a sand one where you have like the wand that pulls up sand, I think.
Yeah, there's also a lot of new items in this that they haven't had in Zelda before, and like
Yeah.
it feels like a very like airtight, polished dungeon design kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quite specific, I think, because I guess like you have that rental system, and pretty much each one is like there's a dungeon built around that item. And you just kind of get it. You go over there, and you have like a whole experience around that thing. Yeah, and obviously having the 2D element also kind of built into a bit of everything as well, like that you can go into the walls and that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I think the cool thing is they like never really like let go of that mechanic. Like it's always relevant.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because there's like, I think so many games, especially with having all these like multiple powers, like fall victim to the problem of like, oh, use this for like 30 times for the first hour, and then like use it twice more for the rest of the game.
I remember there being a point where I guess I hadn't used it in a while, and I forgot how to I was like, how do I do this puzzle? And I was like, oh yeah, you can go in the walls. I forgot because I was like used to using some other ability, but generally it is like it's consistent enough that you're using it quite a lot.
Right. Yeah. So if Ree, you have anything else you want to throw out?
No, I mean I didn't actually stay with the game like too long.
Are you
I
a
remember
fake
having
gamer
a blast
girl?
with it. I am, yeah. I pretend to like video games because gamers are really cool people that I want to hang around. But I remember feeling like, oh, this is a confident Zelda game, and I've always meant to go back to it. Very unique, I guess. Like, I mean, I was always a fan of like those sorts of Zelda games. I always played like the old ones all the time because I had them on the collection on GameCube.
Oh, okay.
So I've always meant to like go back to this one because it's sort of that, but with something new as well, and also the fact that you can do like
this seems like an
everything
easy
in any
choice.
order.
Yeah,
I think that's why it's everyone's favorite. It's something new and something old. It pleases everyone.
Yeah. I don't know why, but like this one feels like a very easy choice for them to re-release on Switch for the anniversary this year.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think they'd have to do anything to it either. Like it already runs at 60 FPS, I guess, so they just gotta like up-res it to 1080p and throw it out there.
Well, I guess is there touchscreen controls? I didn't really think about that.
I think you're right, because they'd have to probably redo some of how the menu stuff works, but it's usually not that big a deal.
It'll be less work than the Wii games.
Yeah, for sure. $60 for Skyward Sword, baby. Already pre-ordered. And I got the amiibo and the Joy-Cons. Fuck you, Nintendo.
You'll be able to do that fast travel thing. Sweet.
I'm actually not going to use it for the fast travel. I just want the display. I just want to have Zelda there.
I love laughing at everyone else's face.
I love Skyward Sword Zelda though. Like I love her design and her personality in that game, and like that game is always like. So I just have to mention again, like I know everyone thinks I'm big Zelda boy, but like I actually had not played a single Zelda game until I was in college, and I played Skyward Sword on the Wii. That was my first Zelda game.
The one that everyone would say don't play first, and you played it first.
But I loved it. Like I completely fell in love with it, and like it made me want to play every other Zelda game, which I did do after that.
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I played them quite late as well. And I'm pretty sure my first one was Spirit Tracks, which is obviously a very weird one to play first.
That's like the other one people would say.
Don't play first.
But yeah, like I love Zelda in that game, and also like that was the only game where they like finally just like were like fine and like let Link and Zelda be like a couple. You know, it is the only game where that happens out of fucking like 30 of these games. Jesus.
Are you kidding? Like in my head, I sort of filled in the blanks. I was like, yeah, they're a couple.
Yeah,
but
it's like
now you point out like, oh god, they're not, are they?
No, they're not.
Kidnapped. They never have a chance to have any like progression with the relationship because she's always gone.
Breath of the Wild 2, they're gonna be together. They're gonna get cold down in that cave. They're gonna have to cuddle up in there. That's my canon. Yeah, the ending shot of Skyward Sword is like them like holding hands and kissing or whatever, and it's very good. So everyone buy that game.
Very risque for Nintendo, to be honest. I'm surprised they were that brave.
I'm pretty sure it like whites out right before their lips touch, and it's like Nintendo.
Oh Oh god! Obviously, Miyamoto hadn't seen that scene. Maybe they did kiss, and then he charged in on the final day before release. Was like, you have to cut to black before the lips touch.
8 inches apart.
Otherwise, we're having to put up the age rating.
Save the children.
Yeah, leave room for Palutena. All right, so yeah, we're gonna kind of finish up here by talking a little bit about Jared, your upcoming game, Trigger Witch. So, I know you've probably had to do this many times.
Not as much yet, but I will soon. Yeah.
What's your? Oh yeah, very sure. So maybe this is a good place to practice your elevator pitch for your game.
Oh,
lightning round.
I mean, okay, I'll do it. I don't have it in front of me. We do have one somewhere. But
okay, you can just talk about it. You don't have to have like an official one.
Well, yeah, I guess I can explain what it is overall. It's like a 2D. I mean, described as like a 2D action adventure twin stick shooter. It's like an open world thing, and I guess the easier way to describe it in ways that it's like relating to something else is that it is designed like a 2D Zelda game would be in terms of dungeons, open world. There's like story elements and like getting you guns mostly because it's twin stick shooter. But then a lot of gameplay obviously is different because it's twin stick shooter, so it's like closer to a lot of roguelike type games. And I was actually quite happy that when we released the newest trailer, no one was like, "Oh, it's a roguelike," because I think we did a good enough job of making it look like it's not, because we definitely didn't want to give that vibe, but that's what most people think of with twin stick shooters, is that it would be. I guess that's it's witches and guns is kind of the main concept.
Okay, so you are playing as a witch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there magic too, or is it just guns?
So there is some magic, and I mean the story's actually a decently big part. We had a writer, Jono. He wrote like, I think it ended up being over like 20,000 words probably. So we had like a decently big story, and a lot of lore and stuff about magic that was in the world, and how guns came in, and it has like made that happen less. But there is still magic, and there's magic in the world, even if you don't necessarily use magic all the time. But it's mostly guns that you use.
It's nice to think there's magic in the world. Yeah, okay, so what is, if I like picked up this game and like had it in my hands, like what other games do you think you would like compare the feel of it to, like just playing through it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess like kind of any twin stick shooter you can think of, I guess, but like things like Nuclear Throne or Enter the Gungeon or stuff like that. Like, I mean, like it plays like a twin stick shooter, you know. You move with one stick and you aim with one stick and you shoot and stuff like that. But we've done some things with like how you swap between guns and how reloading works to encourage weapon swapping and keeping the variety up with that. And
I love that.
We did quite a lot. So there's unlimited ammo, but you're having to reload them and that kind of thing. And there's quite a lot of enemy variety, and because it's like a dungeon type thing where the dungeons all have like their own unique mechanics and stuff, there's unique enemy types, and we tried to make different weapons be more useful in different dungeons. Like there's one with like a darkness stuff, so the shotgun is better in there because you're like can't see as far, and then there's one where it's like there's very little walls, and so you end up getting the sniper, and the sniper is better for shooting longer range too. When there's no walls, you can kind of get those enemies. So we don't really have any, like in Zelda, you would get items that would allow you to progress through a dungeon because like they're forcing you to use an item, and we don't really do that. Some of the dungeons can be done out of order, like groups of them, and it's just kind of like the weapon you get in that dungeon will just complement that dungeon's mechanics is the idea.
Okay, nice. I have to say, like, I love the game design idea of having of games that like encourage you to keep swapping weapons. Like I don't like games that like let you get too comfortable with one single play style and just like continue to hammer through that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we wanted to do. Like, I mean, I don't want to we didn't want to force people to use a weapon 100%. Like, if they really didn't want to, there's going to be, I think, 9 weapons total. And so you can pick a couple that you really like, and you can upgrade the damage and the reload speed and fire rate and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But we also made it that if you really upgraded a gun, then got a new gun you really like, you can refund all of your stuff and get all your stuff back and reassign it to different weapons. So you're never locked in to making something really good. Like, if you want to experiment, it's all good as well. You can, like, switch it up.
Is there, like, a lot of, like, detailed upgrading? Is it, like, an RPG skill tree thing? Or is it just, like, make this gun better?
It's just the values of the gun. So you got to, like, find collectibles, which you can unlock either damage, fire rate, reload speed, or capacity, and then you can upgrade that per gun.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So does this is this like similar to like your previous work at all, or is this like feel like very new to you, like this whole
I,
genre?
well, I would say like if you play Reverie, like the design overall is like similar, right? Where it's like the dungeons and the overworld, and like the overall design of doing that. I guess the closest thing is the Zelda game, and then obviously that's what we did that for Reverie, and then we're doing that for Trigger Witch in a way of having that similar overall world design. But I feel like the game itself will feel very different. But it's kind of like an extension of what we learned and try to make everything better in every aspect, but also making it a very different gameplay feel. There's a lot less puzzles, there's more combat, and there's a lot more enemy variety in it as well.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I think I've seen a lot of studios do that well. Like Arcane, obviously, like taking what they learned from Dishonored and like kind of mastering it in Prey, but also making it very different. Kind of that same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was actually going to ask about like how narrative heavy it is, but you've already said there is a story to follow, there are characters to fall in love with, and all that jazz.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to, because from Reverie, a lot of our dialogue was kind of one-off. It was like you usually talk to somebody and you either don't come back to them or you maybe come back to them like once, but we wanted to keep some of the characters more consistent and coming back throughout the story. And then we also wanted to include story within dungeons, because in Reverie we also didn't have any dialogue inside dungeons. It was like just dungeon stuff, but we wanted to integrate more of a narrative inside each dungeon and have more of a reason for why they exist and the story inside of it. And so that's kind of why the story ended up getting a lot more, is because we had it in like every aspect of the game now.
That's really cool. No, I like that because I think there's I don't know, like I think some games also fall into that trap of like do this action segment and then like here's some cutscene and then do some action and then back and forth. Like intermixing it like that is I like what you're saying there.
We did have a worry at one point that we did actually end up having to, we put a bit more combat in between, where we had a point where there was a decent amount of like dialogue cutscenes, something like this might be too much all in a row, so we kind of split it up and tried to, because it's just a bit much to keep your attention for that long. We definitely tried to consciously be like, don't just give people a bunch of text in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was also gonna ask, like, are you guys like planning to like add more content later? Are there DLC ideas? Or are you just trying to just get the game out and then reassess it? Or...
It's very unlikely we'll do any extra content. Like we like to just have it be complete if we can. Just like release it.
Sure.
Have it. We try to have everything in that we can. Like we didn't really leave room to add more. We feel like it's gonna be concise and complete as it is. Yeah.
Okay. About how long do you think it'll take? Is it like a really replayable thing, or is this kind of just like a narrative that you follow to the end?
I mean, it's replayable in some ways. We have some dialogue choices that give you different responses slightly, but doesn't like change the overall game. But
right.
When I last played through it, which took a while, it was 10 hours, and I know what I'm doing.
Okay. That to me feels good. I don't know about you, Ree. I'm on the second of 5 playthroughs of Nier, and I'm 35 hours in. So I think I would welcome that, like maybe like a 12 to 15 hour game is what I'm probably hearing for most newcomers.
That's
and
what
plus I really like the aesthetic of it as well, Trigger Witch. I'm really excited for it. So
yeah, no, I love the art that you guys are using. It does feel very Zelda-y, but it also, I don't know why, I'm like kind of reminded of Hyper Light Drifter a little bit too, just how everything kind of moves.
There was actually one aspect. I played Hyper Light Drifter after we started making it, and there was one aspect where I saw that they had when you break, there's like breakable objects in it, and they turn into little breakable bits, and then you can walk into those and they move, and I was like, I can do that. So I already had breakable bits, so I just put collision on them in physics, and they move now when you walk into them.
Okay, so yeah, let's just round it out, I guess, with like when is this releasing and on what platforms and such?
It should be releasing soon. We don't have a proper release date, but it's hoping to be within the next couple of months.
Okay.
It'll be on release. It'll be Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and then the plan is to release on next gen when we can.
Wait, what about the PC gamers?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll probably end up doing a PC version. We just have to. I would like to add more support for what PC gamers expect. Maybe like having other options in it and being able to rebind all the keyboard keys and stuff would be nice. Because at the moment you can rebind on the controller, but it's quite limited if you're playing on PC.
Right, that makes
sense.
And
resolution options, full screen, borderless windowed. Oh, I'd want to have those options in if I could.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I'm sorry, I gotta ask, what's the frame rate? What's it look like?
On Switch, it's 60 most of the time.
Hey.
Which was because the Switch is the worst one. When we made Reverie, we were like, what does it run like on Vita? That's like the main thing you would focus on, because if it runs well on the Vita, it'll run well on anything. So yeah, on the Switch it runs pretty well overall, and then it's just everything else runs great. Because the Switch runs it well, the Xbox is going to run it great.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. I'm trying to decide whether to get that on PS5 or Switch. Like, this feels like something I would probably do a lot more handheld, honestly. I'll probably
Yeah, I think.
And you know that you're going to get it on Switch just for being a Nintendo show. You
I've legitimately like purchased games for the Switch that like I never intended to play there, that I also just bought on PC, and it's like, I want to play this on PC, but I want like everyone to know.
It doesn't even surprise me. I'm not surprised in the slightest.
One thing I would say is that the Switch Joy-Cons, I don't think are the best for twin stick shooters. I think the Pro Controller probably feels better. So it kind of depends on, like, just from, I don't know, the sticks are a lot smaller and stuff like that, and the triggers are, well, I guess the Switch doesn't have triggers at all. It's like buttons. So I don't know. Depends how you feel, but yeah.
Yeah. Is this like is the D-pad for like movement too, or is it like that a different thing?
No, so what I've done is on the D-pad you can equip favorite items. So
okay, great. Yeah.
There's going to be quite a few, so you can assign those to the D-pad. The D-pad kind of hard to access if you're moving, but it's good to just like, if you're in between combat, able to like assign what you want, and you can. It's kind of like Ratchet and Clank in a way, where you have the previous weapon. So if you tap L, like L1 or left bump or whatever, it'll swap to 2 previous guns that you have, and then you can. So the last 2 you equip will be the one that it'll go back to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay, that sounds pretty dope. I was obviously kind of like interested in it before, but like I think you very much sold me on it. I probably am gonna get that on Switch. So yeah, I think that's probably good. Thanks for coming on with us. Let's I guess close out. Unless there's anything else you want to say quickly about it.
Buy it when it comes out. Hopefully, follow us on Twitter at Rainbite if you want to, or anywhere else, Instagram and Facebook I think as well. But that's about it.
Nice. Are y'all making a next gen version too, or is it just like the backwards compatible version?
The plan is to make a next gen one. We just got to get the dev kits and stuff because it takes time, money.
Okay.
But I would be keen to do the PS5 adaptive triggers probably the most, because that would be quite cool for gun feel.
Oh,
we'll have to see how
that would
goes.
be good. Yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's close out then. So thank you to Todd Howard for releasing Starfield. This week it's been really good. Seeing sort of the collective gaming industry fall apart. So you can find us at GameLuster.com and GameLuster or YouTube.com/GameLuster as well. And also we're on Twitter at GameBustersPod. Give us a follow. We're cool. Jared, just any obviously you have your game that we just talked about. You want to shout out anything else you're working on, or you want to give a shout out to, a plug?
I mean, the game's pretty much it. Yeah, just Rainbite, just follow us wherever, and then buy the game when it comes out. That's pretty much it.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, Reed, do you have any plugs you want to throw out?
No, I think I've probably got some terrible opinion pieces about Mass Effect coming out soon. I'll probably write one.
Were you the one who posted like, "This is my husband," and it was like the bad cricket from A Bug's Life?
Dude, I have had so many people send that to me this week and go, Rihanna, it's literally you. And it's just like, yeah, I get it. Okay, you're all making the joke. I know. Anyway, so follow me at @re_Bevan on Twitter if you want to see some really terrible opinion pieces about Mass Effect. I have the worst opinions on that game, so yeah, I've sold it really well.
Yeah, if you want to see more speculation, more baseless speculation about the release date of Starfield, you can follow me at Gondeezy on Twitter. So if you guys have any suggestions for what games you want us to cover, whatever, throw them out here. Or if anyone wants to give us a review on iTunes or any other podcast thing that lets you rate stuff, that would be dope. That'd be dope as hell, dude. So yeah, I think that's it. We didn't really have a game or a contest this week, so we don't have a winner. I think that Jared, do you have like sort of any sort of a catchphrase that you say all the time that everyone knows you for that you could close us out on?
Not really. No, sorry.
Okay, do you want to like play with me in the space a little bit and pretend that you do?
Sure. I'll just say sweet as. I mean, I don't know.
What'd you say?
Sweet as. I was told that it's a weird thing and it's not a thing people say.
Did you say sweet S?
Sweet as.
Sweet as. I've never. No,
Sweet as what?
That's not a phrase that I've heard a lot before.
It's like saying cool as or something, right? It's like it's not. It's like you're comparing it to something, but you're not. It's just that's the whole thing. It's just
what is cool as?
Oh fuck.
We got a culture clash here.
GameBusters International is always a fun.
This is what you asked me for, and I gave you what I got. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
good point, Nirav.
That's true.
You can't be picky.
No, that's good. I'm glad. Thank you.
You put him on the spot.
What, I don't know fucking anything about New Zealand. You guys have sheep over there?
Yeah, we got a lot.
Yeah. All right. Close that on that. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm pretty sure it like whites out right before their lips touch, and it's like Nintendo.